Greetings, sentient beings. This broadcast is not intended for children. There will be strong language and adult themes.
Ooh, I love adult themes.
Okay, well, let's come up with adult things you can do with a cabbage.
Oh, man. Well, I want to find out what else is related to cabbage. All this, there's so many cabbages, and I don't believe that. I think there's only one cabbage. The rest are things that may be similar, but there's only one cabbage.
What was derived from the mustard seed? Brussels sprouts, broccoli, cauliflower, kale.
They're derived from the wild cabbage. Those
Yep.
are all cabbages.
Yep. Also, arugula, bok choy. You said Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, collard greens.
Kohlrabi, sea cabbage, silver whips, tranchuta.
But no cucumbers.
Nope, no cucumbers.
How about those daikon radishes, those long, narrow
not radishes.
Did we say kale?
I'm not sure. Did we say cauliflower? Did we say cauliflower?
Yep, I said cauliflower. So, yeah, they are all the same species, and the Latin name for it, if I'm saying this right, is Brassica ouracea.
Brassica. Brassica, yeah. Ouracea.
Yep.
Yeah, Brassica ouracea. The Brassica actually is Latin for cabbage.
Yep.
I know. In cardiology land, they call your heart a cabbage.
Your heart, huh?
Yeah. It's actually CABG is how it's spelled, and it's some acronym that medicine uses. I don't know what it is. Cardiac blah blah blah. I don't know.
Though we've a 2021 study he found what suggested that Brassica ceratitia was the closest relative to the domesticated species that we have, which would put the species originating in the eastern Mediterranean.
Yep. Yeah, what the common cabbage that we think of didn't exist until about the 10th century.
Now, is cabbage as valuable as lettuce? I mean, we have lettuce and we spend lettuce and that kind of stuff. Can we spend cabbage too?
Listen, you can spend whatever you want as money as long as other people will accept it.
True.
Okay, well, I'm down with that.
Hey, and a head of lettuce can outlast a prime minister. Cabbage keeps a lot longer than lettuce.
Yeah, that's true. It does store long better.
It also hurts a lot more if you get hit in the head with one.
Now, when I say I don't grow cabbage, I'm referring to the cultivar capitata, which is what we normally think of as cabbage. Would be cabbage, red cabbage, savory cabbage, so forth.
And to celebrate today, while we are doing this, I am having a bowl of coleslaw.
Now how can vegetables and other plants that are red be producing chlorophyll or have chlorophyll? Isn't that green?
And there's another chemical that causes the red.
Oh,
well, the reason
so devious.
The reason that cabbage has been so diverse is in genetics. Sometimes they talk about gene duplications, and apparently, cabbage has a triplication. Virtually its entire genome is 3 times in its DNA.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what allows it to mutate so easily into so many different forms.
I know that you can cross broccoli and cauliflower because they're in the same genus or whatever the fuck that is. But I wonder if you could like maybe cross Brussels sprouts with cabbage and end up with Brussels sprouts that are the size of cabbages. Boy, that would be really good. Num num.
They're the same plant, right? Effectively.
Yep. Let's see. In the side chat here, we've got Commander 401, George Hands, Sloth Girl, and Angie Dell. How y'all doing tonight? Giant Brussels sprouts. That would be interesting.
I suppose it could be done.
Especially if they grow on the stalk the same way Brussels sprouts do. You can imagine how big those suckers would be.
Well, you would think that through selective breeding, you could just keep, breeding the Brussels sprouts to be larger and larger over consecutive generations.
Yeah, I mean,
You should be able to get there eventually.
that's effectively how we got all the different varieties these are brassicas to begin with.
Hey, Carol.
What you mean cabbage and cauliflower don't just grow wild out in the woods?
Nope.
Oh, come on.
Not in any form we recognize.
Oh, you're not telling the truth. That's a fable. They grow in the forest.
Listen, according to someone whose YouTube channel was well-deservedly canceled, broccoli, cabbage, and Brussels sprouts were all made by God. No matter how many people were a human invention.
There, see, they grow in the forest. I was right. You were wrong. All right, get rid of that sloth girl comment. I can't see the plants and names. Kohlrabi is always an interesting thing, except if you grow them wrong, they turn into wood.
Yeah, I've tried growing them a couple times, and I just can't get them to grow around here.
I don't think I've even had kohlrabi. I'm not familiar with that one.
They've got that same cabbagey kind of bite to them. That I think of as the core of the cabbage, how that tastes.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's basically eating the stalk of the plant.
Yeah, we actually all have something to say about the topic for a change, so.
I don't really have much to say about cabbage.
Now, kale, I think, is one of the best foods that you could ever serve in, say, prison, where you really want to punish people.
Unless, of course, it somehow relates to programming.
There are ways of preparing kale so it's tasty.
No, there's not.
Oh, yes, there is. I've done it before.
Uh-huh. Well, you're from Florida. I don't trust anything you say.
Hey, Jen.
That's not fair. Just because he's a Florida man, it doesn't mean he's
Well,
about to do something strange on your birthday.
Oh, come on. I was born in Texas.
Oh, well, yeah, that's so much
Listen,
better.
If I have to be forced to be a Hoosier just because I live in Indiana, you're a Florida man.
Hey, just because I lived in the Upper Peninsula, I was never going to be a Youper, and people up there resented me for that. My family said that if I stayed up there, I'd get to like it, and it's like, no, not going to happen.
Yeah, but being that's okay, because being a Youper is akin to mental illness.
Well, my sister gave me one of those mugs that, had the I Heart Michigan. She was not amused that I managed to take the heart off, and with a Sharpie I wrote intolerate.
No, that's not the worst situation to do it.
The Ethiopian kale I grow is pretty interesting because I can get like 3 different flavor profiles out of it depending on time of year and the way it's prepared.
Which?
Ethiopian kale.
Oh, Ethiopian kale. I've never heard that before.
Guess where it's grown?
Michigan.
I was going to say Georgia.
Uganda.
Well, where is it grown? You got to tell us.
Ethiopia, obviously.
Oh, okay. All right.
I once had some potatoes that were grown on Mars. They didn't taste very good, though.
No, how about walking artichokes? Where are those grown?
Not sure.
Well, I suppose wherever they go. And why would you want to eat a food that's name has to do with it rotting? Why would you eat carrots?
You're definitely full of puns today, aren't you? I'm going back to my cabbages.
My cabbages.
I love that character.
You know, it's a little disturbing how much we can talk about cabbages here. This is this is just kind of weird.
And
What you think?
for anyone who doesn't know, this is from Avatar: The Last Airbender.
So here's a question: are cabbages touring complete?
Sorry, say that again.
Are cabbages touring complete?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure the answer to that one is no, unless... I mean, if we could figure out a way to make logic gates out of cabbages, someone would have installed Doom on it by now.
Oh, I didn't notice that Jen's here. Hi, Jen.
Yep.
You know, and one of the worst things you can do with cabbage is pickle them and label them as sauerkraut.
Oh no, sauerkraut is food of the gods.
Sauerkraut is disgusting.
No, I actually like sauerkraut, but you know, my dad was Polish, so it's something I grew up on.
Angie, I've had fried cabbage. It is very good, and I also love boiled cabbage, like in boiled dinner.
Yeah, I'm used to the boiled dinner. Had that a lot growing up. Fried cabbage I don't know about, but Sloth Girl has introduced me to the baked Brussels sprouts.
Oh,
Whereas
yeah.
I always used to steam them, but I'm liking them much better when they're baked.
It's a much better way to cook them. They're so flavorful.
They do have a lot more flavor that way.
That's actually only been a thing in American cooking for about the last 5 to 10 years. My family's been doing it for like 50 years. So we've always been a Brussels sprouts family. All the kids grew up liking Brussels sprouts, and we were strange.
I always liked Brussels sprouts, but
now I wonder if you know, like cilantro. There's certain people who are genetically disposed to hate it because it tastes like soap, and that there's some people I understand who George Bush, the one, was apparently this way, that has a terrible taste for broccoli because it comes through to them as some terrible, horrible, bitter taste. But I wonder if other brassicas will do that to them as well.
I imagine so.
And the question I wonder is, you know, I'm on warfarin, so I'm not allowed to eat broccoli. I do, but I'm not supposed to eat broccoli because it interferes with vitamin K. Well, whatever. I forget the interaction, but it has to do with vitamin K, and you can't have. And I wonder if the other brassicas also make you produce more vitamin K or stuff, because I don't remember if I'm allowed to eat those or not.
Sloth Girl, didn't you have something about the vitamin K too? I thought they had some warning about that with one of her meds, but I don't quite remember.
Which is kind of odd considering that broccoli has 110 micrograms of vitamin K.
Yeah.
Jen, was that kraut like hard or soft kraut?
Hard kraut?
I'm asking. I'm not assuming.
Yep. I do like very traditional Polish meal that we always did, which, you know, just the Polish sausage with the sauerkraut and the fried potatoes.
I've roasted Brussels sprouts with cut in half little red potatoes at the same time, because those are really great when they're roasted and get a crispy skin on them.
Actually, most food tastes much better than the pictures would, because most of the time when they picture food, what you're looking at is some inedible model.
You actually no. I can tell you other stuff about that later. I find that the picture never tastes as good as the real thing. It's something about when you chew the paper, it just and the inks and stuff get blend together. It just makes a real foul taste. The vegetables are actually always better than the picture.
Well, everything's edible at least once.
Well, okay. The definition of a vegetable is a part of a plant. So as paper is made from wood pulp, doesn't that mean paper is a vegetable?
Uh-huh.
You can't digest cellulose.
It is, and it is. They use cellulose in the shredded Parmesan cheese. That comes in the shake
Yep.
jar. They add cellulose to keep it from clumping, and they get the cellulose from trees. So you get trees in your cheese. Trees.
It is also a common filler in pet foods, which is, why I always recommend the Iams pet foods, because if you buy the Alpo or Purina stuff, there's a good amount of that's cellulose that your cat can't digest and will just wind up in the litter box anyway. So you're better off buying them a higher quality food that they can digest more easily, and they won't eat as much of it.
Yes, but if there's got a lot of roughage in there, it helps to clear their digestive tract. So it's a two-edged sword.
No, the cellulose does not. The cellulose can actually damage their intestines.
Oh yeah, you mean they're not like people?
They can't break it down.
Well, we can't break down fiber either, and that's one of the reasons why fiber is good for us. It helps clear things out.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's like a big flush for your guts.
Jenni, are you on like blood thinners?
Yeah, warfarin.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's the reason why. Then it's not that it's preventing the vitamin K. It's the vitamin K. It actually can counteract the blood thinner.
Oh, okay, all right. That's it. I remember that now.
Yeah, warfarin. That's the stuff.
So was I echoing earlier?
I just never understood why they named a drug after that guy on Star Trek.
Yeah. If you were porpoise, I hadn't noticed.
Yeah, I wasn't on headphones and I didn't catch that. So
I was thinking I should try that joke again. Maybe people
Hi,
would
kitty.
get-
I hope you get feeling better.
No, I got the joke. I didn't want it. That's why I was just trying to carry on.
I hope you feel better, Kitty.
Yeah, get better.
Yeah, Gen 2, I know you're still in the hospital there. I didn't get to read the update on what they did to you today.
Careful, you're in there too long. They'll start cutting off limbs and stuff. Last time I was in the hospital too long, I came out with a sex change. It was really weird.
I've got to start thinking about that.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot lately and trying to talk to other people who have gone through it to find out more about it.
But I'm also thinking it may just, how things are going, it may just be time to start making plans to head towards Canada.
You betcha.
Unfortunately, I don't think I can really do that.
You first learn how to say oh hey yeah, and then you got to learn you betcha.
Now, see, 12 years ago, I used to have all that. I had such a Minnesota accent that everyone in New York thought I was from Canada.
And then the other word you absolutely have to learn is a toque.
Wait. I thought the first Canadian word you needed to learn was sorry.
Was what? I'm sorry?
Was sorry.
Actually, it's sorry.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Do you know what a toque is? It's the word that they use across the entire country, but it's a French word for stocking cap. Like your winter kind of stocking cap.
Ah.
Really? I thought a toque was like when you were one toque over the line.
It's that too, but when you're talking about clothing, it refers to a hat.
And if you got that joke, you're old.
Speaking of Cabbage Patch Kids,
Sweet Jesus.
did anybody notice that the Cabbage Patch Kids all but disappeared once salad shooters became popular?
Now, those things are not Cabbage Patch Kids. They don't taste anything like cabbage, no matter what you do to them. No matter how cold you get them, you plant them in the ground, they don't grow. It's just such a lie. They should be sued for naming them that.
It was just an attempt to get the atheists to eat more vegetables.
Hey, Doc. Yeah.
Jeez, and I thought the one toque over the line joke was bad.
Okay, Sloth Girl says a toque is what they call a chef's hat.
I've never heard it referred to that way, but I've heard the stocking cap referred to that as a lot. Some people here in Minnesota call it that too, because we're just Canada South.
Canada's just America Light, so.
I watch an interesting TV show on public television all about Minnesota and its electronics history. Are you familiar with it, Porpoise?
No. But then again, I don't actually have TV, so, well,
Yeah.
I have TV, I don't have cable. I do need to pay my cable modem bill, though.
Well, I wasn't wondering if you're familiar with the TV show. I was wondering if you're familiar with the history.
Oh, no. But
They've invented a few important electronics devices have apparently come out of Minnesota that I was not aware of. Something called a computer.
I don't think you can really give... Sorry, I can't give Wisconsin or wherever it was credit for that because too many places created computers at about the same time.
Yeah, that's true. But the big ones were coming out of Minnesota in the early days. Univac, it started as a Minnesota company. Sperry Rand, IBM, and a couple others. I was like, what? I never heard any of this.
Hey,
But their buildings are still there and still operating, and Honeywell is another one, and it was just fascinating.
forget the computers. Minnesota brought things that were much more important to the office. Whiteout and Post-it notes.
Yeah, you get credit for that.
Hmm.
Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing Company.
Yeah.
I once got fired because someone asked me, are these the Post-it notes that stick?
What
To
was
be
that?
fair, I once got fired from working for Staples because someone asked me the question, are these the Post-it notes that stick?
Oh,
And what
I'm
is
sure
your...
you didn't get fired because they asked you. I'm sure it was your answer that got you fired.
There might have been sarcasm in my answer to that one. It's kind of a stupid question to ask.
So were they the kind that stick?
That's the whole point. Of course they're the kind that stick.
Okay, well, I didn't know.
But what about the kind that don't stick?
And they're not Post-it notes.
Well, if you tape them up, they are.
Did you know that Post-it notes came from a failed experiment?
Uh-huh.
That they were trying to develop a new adhesive, and the crap would never set up. And somebody had put it in a stack of papers, and it got buried, and they went through the stack like 3 months later and found the adhesive had still not set. So then they're trying to figure out what they could do with this adhesive that never sets up.
The question I have about that kind of thinking and stuff. What was wrong with WD-39?
All the first 39 formulas didn't work.
Yep.
That's
That
why
is
it's
literally what the
WD-40.
name means. It's WD-40. It's water deterrent perfected on the 40th try.
I didn't know it was stood for water deterrent. I always thought it was what's that.
No, it also is not a lubricant. People have to get over that.
Yeah,
It's not a lubricant, it's a cleaning solvent.
people think it's a lubricant because it contains silicone. That's what the water detergent is primarily based on. It. Silicone has a very high washout rate, and so you don't really want to use it as a lubricant.
Oh, soft girl, that is horrible.
Across Canada, no. Oh, that's pretty good.
Actually, I thought it was Michael Nesbitt's mother that invented the whiteout. I thought that's what the link was.
It was Michael Nesbitt.
Michael Nesbitt?
Yep.
Nesmith. It was Nesmith.
Yep.
Monkey?
From the Monkees.
Yeah.
That's Nesmith.
I have some of his songs on my playlist. In my
The
phone.
only one with monkey. Yeah,
That's how old I am.
Hey, I've got a brush with greatness. I sold him a Lego set.
Oh, did you?
Yep, I got an online order for a Lego set that said Michael Nesbitt. So, I had to check, and it's like, yeah, that was really him. So.
Wow. Which one did he buy?
I
don't remember now. That was several years ago.
It really stinks that the most largest celebrity I met was the Indiana Attorney General. It's not really something people get all that excited over.
Well, just because of this community, the biggest celebrity I've met has been Aaron Ra.
I've never actually met him. So.
Yeah, I got to hang out at a party with him after the Ark Encounter protest.
I've been meaning to go to one of those since it's not too far from here.
Hey, maybe next summer I'll pick you up on the way. We'll go get Diana. We'll go down there.
We can all pop in my minivan.
Well, I got my own minivan now.
After about 10 feet, we can pop back in a minivan that, well, actually, it's a Chrysler. It's been working pretty well. It's just... I'm just determined that it's going to last 2 more years, and I'm kind of hoping it makes it.
Okay. Well, don't press it. Thanks to all the people in this community. I've got a minivan now. And by all accounts, this one should have several years to go, so. And I know part of the reason that people donated for it was so that I would be able to go and take trips to help Diana from time to time, so.
How many soccer balls do you carry in that thing?
Hey, I was literally a soccer mom. When I was raising kids, I was literally picking up my daughter and her friend and driving them from school to their soccer practice.
Well, that's why I'm asking. You have a minivan, so that's for soccer mom.
Yeah, that was before I had a minivan. That was when I only had a Mazda 323. Barely enough room in the back of that for a kid.
No, that's not very nice, Jen. You should at least wait till Clara gets here to. Never mind.
Yeah, I'm a bit behind on the side chat here, so let me catch up.
See, that's Slothgirl made a well-known mistake. It's not actually a Beatles song. It's actually a Monkees song known as The Last Train to Coleslaw.
Ah. Yes, I know we have the family reunion this summer. I'm just not sure if I'm still invited.
I want to know why it's called coleslaw.
I don't care.
What's a cole and what's a slaw?
Well, I know why it's called slaw. A slaw is just a chopped up mixed thing. I don't know why it's coleslaw. I assume that's the person who invented it or something.
A chopped up mixed thing. So
basically anything finely shredded can be called a slaw.
So that means Jeffrey Dahmer was serving people slaw?
I guess so.
Okay. Just checking.
Athena, I know you're back there. And do you want to contribute on this discussion to Cabbage? Because I really don't think you eat cabbage, Athena.
Ooh, there's a burn.
That was all. Okay.
Those vegetables the coleslaw existed way before Nat did.
Yep. Okay, Sloth Girl says vegetables are cole crops. Okay, so what's the definition of a cole crop?
Nat King. Nobody got that one either, huh?
The only thing that,
A coal crop is or brassicas.
Oh, okay.
The only thing that came to my mind was that when you said Nat King Cole was, I was actually playing for one of the classes I had to cover some Duke Ellington because they were going on. The article was about jazz.
I like jazz. I've been a jazz fan for as long as I've been a rock fan.
I don't know. I wonder if it was a problem for Nat King Cole growing up being named after a nursery rhyme.
I have a feeling there's a joke coming here, but I don't know what it's going to be.
No, that was it. If there was a punchline, that was it already.
Because I don't know what the nursery rhyme you're talking about was.
Old King Cole?
Some of these nursery rhymes are positively obscene. That one I think is just terrible, and the other one, Hickory Dickory Doc. Well, I mean, come on, talk about your groomers.
Hi, Athena.
Okay, so cole crop comes from the Dutch word koesla for cabbage salad.
Maybe that's. But Dutch. Well, there are some Dutch names in certain areas of Pennsylvania, but not because of the Pennsylvania Dutch, oddly enough, because of the actual Dutch.
Yep.
Like Schuylkill.
Okay, cole crops originate from the word caulis, Latin, meaning stem or stalk of a plant. Today, cole crops meaning the stem brassicas. So that would actually mean that you're doing it more from the broccoli stem rather than from the buds.
I always wondered why cauliflower exists. Is it like just a wart on the side of a stem? And we found that it happened to taste good.
I think cauliflower exists because someone wanted white broccoli.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, probably.
I think somebody just wants something to add another color to what they were making, so.
I know they have purple broccoli.
Yep. Somebody wanted albino broccoli.
Yeah, they have purple cauliflower too.
Well, actually, it's the same thing, but people change its name.
And I know some of Trump's followers aspire to be as smart as broccoli.
Of course, if they were, they'd no longer be Trump followers.
That was a cheap shot. I need to stop taking pot shots at him because he is not the danger right now, I don't think.
Unfortunately, he still may be. Did you hear what his latest platform is that he could be running on?
I've heard, but the best thing that can happen is Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump get in a contest to see who can say the stupidest thing.
Well, that's fine. I'm hoping that the Republicans nominate DeSantis and Trump can't take the idea that he's not the nominee and runs anyway. Because that should split the Republican vote enough that the Democrats should win regardless of who it is.
Mage, I think you as a gardener should do the world a service and do an experiment on how good of a source of fertilizer Ron DeSantis is.
What?
Yeah, like the old bullshit that they taught us that in grade school about the Indians teaching the pilgrims how to farm, use fertilizer, use fish for fertilizer, just bury the fish.
Composting in place.
So bury Ron DeSantis. Let's see how good it grows.
You just dig a trench and you fill it up with your compost material and you cover it over. You can plant right over it.
Yeah, actually, excuse me, my late fiance, because they told her she needed to cut down on starch, I started doing the mashed cauliflower instead of mashed potatoes.
Yeah, that's a pretty popular cheat.
In fact, the squash pit is actually really good for doing that kind of things. You can bury the stuff and you put the squash instruments right on top, and they grow real good that way.
Is this a conversation that is a good idea to be having?
I'm just talking about having to grow composting and stuff in place.
In the context of doing it too.
Well, we shouldn't be mentioning anyone specific, but outside of that, talking about fertilizer is okay.
Well, I didn't mention anything about any particular individual. So.
I did. I'll own that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Jenni did.
Fine. Then put me in prison and shoot me. I don't care.
Actually, just over this last summer, Minnesota approved the body farm burials, which is basically they just put the body in a burlap sack and they plant a sapling on top of it. So instead of graveyards, we could wind up with a forest in a few decades.
I wouldn't mind that.
I would go for that. I definitely would go that way.
Actually, I would. I think I'd go for that. Yeah.
I kind of like the idea of a root crawling around inside of me.
I think I want my memory and my knowledges to be uploaded in AI.
Yeah, but I mean, as far as the physical
Not an AI.
goes.
Well, would it be an AI at that point? I think I know, but I actually don't.
It'd be a cyber intelligence thing. You'd be part human, part machine.
I visited was it either North Carolina or South Carolina, and there was this one really old area, the place where they had like graveyards on the side of the road, and was one tree actually grew into the casket and was, like just taking off.
Oh, geez.
Yep. Well, I had said that all along. I mean, I've been saying that since I was in high school in the early 80s. That's the way I wanted to be buried, was just plant a tree on top of me. Because then, as I decompose and the tree grows, in every real sense, I will become a tree.
I don't know. I wanted to do the Simon and Garfunkel method and become an island. The song "I Am."
I'm not sure what the Simon Garfunkel method is there.
Well, I am a rock. I am an island.
Yeah.
I'm just not getting the connection.
Okay, you just don't know the song.
No, I know the song fine. I don't get the connection.
Well, you would be an island for a while because initially the body bloats, so you'll float. But after that, you're going to wind up sinking.
The only reason a body floats is because they didn't take the time to punch holes in it. You do that and they'll never catch you.
They've had that problem a few times with whales. There's been a couple of instances that they've had to sink a whale. When it's been mishandled, the results have been, shall we say, comically tragic. People need to learn to stop blowing up whale carcasses, is all I'm going to say.
That was only done once, and who was making? Oh yeah,
no,
Marjorie Taylor Greene was making some interesting comments about whales getting beached because of wind turbines in the ocean.
Yeah, the whale being blown up on a beach was only done once. There are several times they've done it on whales out that they've towed back out into the water before they blew them up. It didn't go a whole lot better for the people in boats nearby.
All I'm going to say, future generations, I realize I don't have a large role in this, but I want to apologize if I helped create anyone as dumb as Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah, I liked
Well,
Idiocracy better when it was a comedy instead of a documentary.
I thought it was appropriate to bring her name up because we were talking about vegetables.
True. About the only good thing I have to say about Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert is that Michelle Bachmann is no longer the most embarrassing thing in Congress.
No, now she's just the most embarrassing thing in the state of Minnesota.
Actually, what I love is that Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert hate each other because people keep saying they're both equally as stupid.
Yep.
I want to see them get together on a naked photo shoot, a lesbian photo shoot.
But I spent about a decade apologizing to the country for releasing Marjorie Taylor Greene so
I want to see both of them on Jeopardy against, I don't know, a cabbage.
My mind's on the cabbage.
well, I think we should kind of take a cue from the British, and I think that for 2024 we should just elect a cabbage. It will probably have more good ideas than Trump, DeSantis, and arguably, possibly even Biden.
I'd rather put a jar of sauerkraut in office.
I'd rather not. Unless it's the jar someone was going to try to feed me on New Year's Day. I really hate that.
Fermented foods are really good for you, Porpoise.
I hate sauerkraut.
Well, okay, to be fair, a jar of sauerkraut would easily last 4 years at room temperature.
Also not a big fan of corned beef and cabbage.
Oh my God, what's wrong with you?
Because my mother once got into a phase, it's like, you're going to eat what was put in front of you. And first of all, my mother wasn't a good cook. So she had a habit of making foods no one wanted that would stay there for weeks and no one would touch until someone cleaned out the refrigerator.
You too, huh?
So, and she decided, I'm going to make corned beef and cabbage probably for St. Patrick's Day or something. It's like,
Yep.
You're going to eat this or you're not eating anything else. So I let that bowl of corned beef and cabbage sit for 3 days.
Man, I'd have that for lunch every freaking day.
I cannot stand it.
I like the corned beef and cabbage, but my mother was also a terrible cook. Any place that advertises just like Mom used to make, I avoid.
And I didn't end up eating it.
My mom was a great cook, and she taught my dad to be a great cook, and she taught me to be a great cook. And boy, her stuff was perfect. It was just wonderful, and it was just a thrill to grow up with my mother.
In any case,
sorry, kids.
I have to go to work tomorrow, unfortunately. So,
all right.
Have a good night, everyone.
Night, Parp.
Good night. Sorry, Sloth Girl, I don't know how to set up a bot here yet. If I could get OBS running, I'm sure I've got people who'd show me how to do it.
I can't believe it. Here we're an hour into this, and we're still talking about it.
Well, 45 minutes in, we started late. But yeah. Yep, you know what? We might actually break our record. I think we have, because the previous record was set by talking about potatoes for 40 minutes.
No, I think we managed to break that with that gardening talk before.
Okay.
Or baked potatoes and broccoli. It's great. That's a great.
Well, I should take a cue. I should take a cue from this of what my most popular programs are, and we should just every week talk about vegetables.
Yeah, apparently. Again, you have a gardener on for a co-host, so
yeah, that does help a lot.
Back in the days before political, I shouldn't say this. It was a I'll just tease you all with it.
Well, you can hold on to it until we go offline, and then you can just hit Mage and I with it.
I was thinking of this terrible cartoon that I saw in a magazine that highlighted frozen vegetables. and we'll do that. We'll do that one later in private.
Most sauerkraut is not pickled cabbage. It's salted and fermented till it turns sour.
That's right.
Well, now I wonder about the stuff I got in the fridge.
You just take cabbage and cut it up into the little thin strips, and salt it. Put it in a jar, and let it go. It breaks down and becomes sauerkraut. Kimchi is the same basic concept. That's why they bury it outside.
Yeah.
In the ground.
Yeah, kimchi is Korean sauerkraut that they buried in the ground for about 3 months.
Don't they also add hot stuff to kimchi?
Well, yeah. It's just their general cooking. I don't know what the spices are that they put in it.
Don't know.
Doesn't like corned beef and cabbage. How can anybody not like that?
I guess if it's not prepared right.
You boil it. How bad can you go?
Oh no, I've seen the way my grandmother goes.
I can understand just because it's boiled, the corned beef and cabbage can be bland. But other than that, yeah, there's not much you can do to it.
I mean, my grandmother tried to boil a hamburger patty.
Oh, Carol, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to stop talking to you now.
Well, between having a Polish father and growing up in a Jewish village, yeah, I wound up having the boiled corned beef and cabbage quite a lot. Or what they just called boiled dinner, which was basically boiled corned beef and cabbage with some potatoes and carrots thrown in there. Okay, have we finally run out of cabbage talk? Do we need another topic?
Cucumbers.
Well, you can definitely do adult things with cucumbers.
Absolutely, you can. But you gotta peel them first. Those little sharp, bumpy things on them are just not good.
What, you don't like the organic French tickler?
No, those things can scrape you up and.
Yeah, they can actually scratch your skin.
For sure, you just do it cat style. Barbs. So I guess everybody saw the whole thing with J.K. Rowling and her non-apology.
I only saw the brief of it. I didn't actually have time yet to read her statement.
Apparently, it boils down to she's claiming it was all just one big misunderstanding.
Yeah. That she didn't try to correct for the last couple of years.
Yeah. Bullshit.
Which tells me that all the publicity about boycotting her game is actually working. I don't think she'd be trying to change her position if it wasn't starting to cost her money.
But she's not changing her position.
No, but she's trying to, get people to buy her stuff again.
I imagine there has to be other things than just the game, because that game is actually taking off quite. It's been pretty popular.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it's not the game alone, but.
ContraPoints did a very interesting thread on Twitter about that podcast. She was also interviewed for it, for a number of hours, and was not aware that it was going to be a kind of fuck you trans people sort of podcast. It wasn't really intended to be that, but it was so easy. It was such a softball to Rowling that it basically took the same position as she does, because it's completely softballed her. And it's sad considering who the interviewer or the podcaster was.
Okay. Night, Angie. Yeah, I'm going to have to go tomorrow and actually read all that somebody had posted to the Twitter groups, both JK's thing and a response to her. So obviously I can't say a whole lot about it until I actually read it, because right now all I know about it is kind of what other people have been saying in reaction to it.
Well, the thread has to do with ContraPoint saying that she wanted to come out in front of this whole thing so that people realized that she was conned into her part in that. That she was not aware that it was going to be a hack job that it was, and she was concerned about her own personal reputation, but also damage it would do to the trans community. Because a big voice like that goes out and says terrible things again, and it hurts us.
Yeah, I haven't followed ContraPoint either, though. So,
well, like I said, even if this is a non-apology, if it gets you to shut up and knock off the shit, I'll take it. But I understand people being skeptical of that. I am too.
Well, we'll get her to stop giving money to anti-trans organizations.
No.
Yeah, like I said, knock off the bullshit. Get her.
No, she's a hater through and through. I mean, I'm not going to get into it. I'll just get too mad.
Change the topic?
Okay. Yeah, can we have a lighter topic here?
Okay.
My kitty is asleep on my ankle again, as usual.
A lighter topic? Those cheap ones that you get as giveaways, that are like made in Taiwan and stuff, they're so unsafe.
Yeah, I knew somebody who found an old one on the ground and he started playing around with it, and the thing blew up and burned his chest.
Yeah, that's surprising.
Yeah, it was probably leaking when it flamed.
Yeah. Had to do children's burn victim ward kind of thing. Apparently, years later, he went in and they did this thing with all the patients that had been there. So he got to go take a trip to Disney World, and while he was there, he went up ahead of the group to where Mickey and Minnie and all those were, and he was telling the person in the Mickey costume was, "Hey, check this out!" And he bent over Minnie and started acting like he was having sex with her. As soon as the rest of the group started coming up, he went back to behaving normally. He was like, "Nah, come on, that's wrong." And nobody believed him.
Well, apparently, as a joke, one of the Disney animators at one time had made a short of Mickey and Minnie fornicating. And they showed it for like Walt Disney's birthday or something. And Walt Disney said, stood up and said, "That was great. Who made this? Who's responsible?" And when the person raised their hand, he immediately fired them. And no one has been able to find that footage ever again. Thus proving that Walt Disney really didn't have a sense of humor.
He was pretty strict about his material.
Yeah, well, anything that suggested his characters doing anything sexual was just absolutely forbidden. DeviantArt would give him a heart attack.
He had an issue with pointing too. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, it's a rule for the actors who is at the park. Like if they have to point somewhere, they either have to use two fingers or gesture with their hand. They can't point with one finger.
That's interesting.
Does that mean anything? Like in some
No,
other
but
country or culture?
It can be a very, very triggering move for some people. That there's just all kinds of guilt and domination and control and violence and abuse that can be associated with people like our vicious pointers, to coin a phrase.
It's just something he didn't like, so we made a rule in the parks that people working there can't do that.
Pointing is considered rude.
That might have been where he's coming from.
Well, I know in Korea they say you have to be very careful about hand gestures and try not to use any if you don't know, because a lot of them they take as things that you do for animals. So if you're doing them to another person, it's like you're treating the person as being subhuman. Went quiet while I was chewing. Hey, Mark.
Mark. Hi, Mark. Oh.
What? You being all tired?
Yeah, I'm yawning again. I'm sorry. I got to get my medications ready for the night, so I'm going to be muted for a while.
Okay. Well, next week I get to meet the new doctor at the clinic, so starting all over again with another doctor. Maybe I can. Huh?
That's always fun.
Yeah. Well, maybe I can convince him to, up my dosage since the hormones are not having a big effect yet.
How much are you on again?
Well, on the estradiol, it's only a 0.2.
Once a week?
Yep.
Yeah, that's not nearly enough for someone who's pre-op.
Yeah. Well, they're saying from my blood test that it's got me in the normal range for a woman my age. But most women my age are postmenopausal, so shouldn't I need to be a bit higher than that if I want something to be happening?
Well, that's certainly a good question to ask them.
Oh, sorry, Mage. I didn't see that you were.
Oh, birdie.
Oh, your birdie. It's a very colorful birdie.
Sun conure.
Yep. Bright yellow, orange around the face.
It was so cute.
Trying to get into your medicine. Okay, why is the bird trying to take ibuprofen?
The bird's frozen.
That reminds me of a joke. This woman goes and buys a parrot.
Oh, this is a tape. I want to see the bird live. Come on. Or did you kill it?
No. Mage loves his birdies. But this woman goes and she buys a parrot and she gets it home and the parrot starts swearing at her. And it's like, it's the only thing the parrot ever says is it's always swearing at her just constantly. She tries throwing a blanket over the cage and it just keeps going, all day, all night. Just keeps going and, just frazzled from not being able to sleep or anything. She loses it. She completely loses it, and she goes and she grabs the parrot and she throws it into the freezer, and it's still swearing. And then after a couple of seconds, it goes completely quiet. And then she's like, oh God, what have I done? And she opens the freezer, and the parrot's just standing there and very meekly says, ma'am, may I come out now? And she's like, yeah. And she puts the parrot back up on his perch, and it sits there very timidly and finally says, ma'am, can I ask a question? And she says, yeah. And the parrot asks, what did the chicken do to get you so mad?
So what did it do?
No, that was it. Nobody got it. The chicken was plucked, decapitated, and frozen.
Yeah, I get it. I'm just teasing you.
What do you call a German cabbage that's getting clean? Sauerkraut. What does a 50-pound parrot say? Polly, want a cracker now. I thought that a 50-pound parrot would say, here, kitty, kitty, kitty.
Oh, they don't have to weigh that much. Look how much an eagle weighs, and they take all the time. And little dogs and all that kind of stuff that people go, oh, it's so cute.
Yeah.
Thing gone.
That actually was a problem where I lived in Michigan, that the eagles and hawks were known to take cats and small dogs.
Yep. Happens here too. I love it when city people think that that's a joke. Okay, come on, visit. Bring your Fifi. We'll put Fifi outside to hang out for a while.
There was a Far Side cartoon like that. That there was, the middle of the panel was this, like 8-foot tall hedgerow, so the people couldn't see over it. And on one side was the teacup poodlers appreciation, and on the other side was the falconers.
Yeah.
That was it. That was the whole cartoon.
Oh, okay.
I think the caption was something like a disaster brewing or something like that.
I always laughed hard at that video that floated around the internet for a long time. Some mom and their kid out in the field, and they're far enough away that you can't really see detail and stuff like that, which helps with the faking and all. And suddenly this big ass eagle comes down and snatches the child. Oh boy. And it's funny because that just would not happen. Eagles aren't that friendly with humans and aren't going to be interested in coming down and taking anything that's too close to a human. But it was a funny video. It doesn't make me sick, does it? No.
I never had a bird that talked.
And what birds have you had that didn't talk?
Well, I mean, we had budgies and parakeets while I was growing up.
Oh, they'll talk. You can teach them to talk.
Apparently, none of them ever did. but I don't think anybody really ever put the effort into teaching them.
Oh, apparently there was a prehistoric species of parrot that was labeled as 20 times heavier than an Australian magpie. Looking up the Australian magpie, that would be their top weight somewhere around 350 grams. So the thing could reach, if that's 20 times heavier than that, then the thing can reach up to 7,000 grams or 15 pounds.
There were prehistoric penguins in New Zealand that grew to be 7 feet tall.
Yeah, they're the ones that built the ice wall.
Probably.
No.
Yes, at least it's not an ibis.
And looking at the size chart of this thing, it looks like this parrot stood about waist high to a human.
Well, you got to share it.
Yeah, that's a series I liked was called After People, which was basically what would the world be like if all the people disappeared now. And one of the things they talked about that was that, with all the parrots and the various birds that had learned to mimic human speech, that some of them might continue to teach those words, to their young as calls. So it could be that several hundred years after humans went extinct, there would still be some human words being heard in the jungle.
Yeah, I could imagine you're walking through the jungle and all of a sudden you hear off in the distance, "Ah, motherfucker, ah!" It's well, that would be a big parrot. Yes, that could do.
Yes, that would.
That's a big parrot.
God, I'm so sick of taking all these pills.
I know what you mean. I just had to refill my thing for the week last night.
I take 18 pills a night.
I don't even like taking the non-proxin sodium I have to take every night.
Yeah. I take that every night to go to sleep. I wind up taking ibuprofen through the day, which is going to be a problem for me because once I donate a kidney, they said I'm not supposed to take any NSAIDs.
Well, get used to Tylenol or opium.
Yeah, Tylenol doesn't help. Okay, I was just checking, Jenny. I'm only up to 11 pills. I hadn't really counted them before, but yeah.
Well, I've gotten it down. I can actually take all 18 at once.
Yeah. Well, okay. The 11 also doesn't count the NSAIDs I just mentioned, so.
It really sucks when the naproxen sodium gets stuck in my throat.
Yeah.
It burns.
Yep. There's nothing worse than when they get stuck in your throat, or, a lot of these pills when they start to dissolve in your mouth.
Ugh.
Some of them taste really horrid.
I've had that happen.
The gabapentin, if the capsule dissolves, the stuff inside it is just the most horribly bitter thing I've ever tasted.
You're on gabapentin?
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize you were that close to death. Oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that.
No, the gabapentin is just to suppress the tics from the Tourette's. I didn't know they gave it to people close to death, though.
Okay, Sloth Girl, I have to ask, why is it being an ibis a problem?
Okay, we'll have to find the video for you.
I mean, an ibis is basically just another crane.
Okay, well, ibis are kind of the Australian answer to seagulls, you know, and you know all this shit about all the nasty animals in Australia, so, you know, basically take a seagull with an Australian attitude. Okay, let's everybody compare how many pills we all take.
Come on, somebody take more than me.
Well,
I don't want to win all of these contests.
If I count all the NSAIDs I take for the arthritis, since I often have to take those, you know, a couple times a day, then I'm potentially up to as much as 19.
I have one of the most bothersome injuries I have ever had in my life going right now. You know, I got these artificial nails, which are, you know, just so goddamn beautiful. I want to keep them and everything, but as the longer they're on you, they will tend to, you know, break off or peel off. You know, they're glued to your regular nail, and so they can just, you know, let go and stuff like that. And this one on my index finger on my left hand broke off, and it was kind of an irregular break across the tip, and it ran down next to my cuticle, all, you know, all the way down and under, and it apparently got infected, even though I had been keeping clean and all that stuff. And it's just an unbelievably painful owie.
Sounds
And
like
I'm
it.
having the hardest fuck time getting rid of the infection.
I've thought about doing acrylic nails because mine tear so easily, but I could see doing that too and ripping the whole nail off. Okay, Jenny, Sloth Girl got us the link to the Ibis song, and I copied it into the StreamYard chat, so you can grab it from there and you can go check that out later.
Okay.
Then you will be in on the Ibis joke next time it comes around, and it will.
But anyways, I discovered something. I took a chance, and I discovered something about certain drugs and this owie I've got. One thing does help take the pain away. Not real good, you know, like opium or something like that, but Oragel, you know, that you buy for like a hurting tooth, and I just put a little dab of that in the area of the wound, and
oh yeah,
it numbs it enough to not hurt too bad.
Yeah, it's a topical anesthetic. It'll work anywhere like that. I've used that too when I've had when I have the problem of my fingers splitting open in the winter.
I used to have that'll happen a lot, and I don't anymore.
I still do. Since we had a warm spell, they're just healing up again. But
really, I'm surprised you being on HRT, because that's my dried and broken winter skin stopped when I went on HRT.
Well, maybe it would get better if I had a higher dosage or been on it longer.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I'm a couple months short of 2 years so far.
Oh, Sloth Girl.
Sloth Girl, I know you're lying because I know you would never make a dentist appointment. The only way Sloth Girl would go into a dentist is if I got the gas and knocked her off before I put her in the car.
I want to know where she came up with that one. Is that from somewhere, or did you invent that yourself? And if you invented that yourself, I'm sorry, we're going to have to exterminate you.
I thought it's a pretty old joke, but I'm not sure where it originally came from. Oh, and yeah, actually, I've forgotten my pill count because I haven't picked up the prescription yet. But I saw the doctor on Tuesday, and he gave me a prescription for Buspar, just to kind of hold me over, because it's going to be a couple of months before I can get in to see anybody to evaluate me for any psych drugs.
Oh yeah, I recommended Thorazine to you, didn't I?
Okay, Sloth Girl said it was an old popsicle stick joke. I remember those, the popsicle sticks that had jokes printed on them. Yeah, I got the bus power just because obviously my anxiety level has something to do with why I'm not sleeping. So, like I say, he figured that it's probably going to be like 3 months before they can get me into a doctor who can prescribe psych meds. So in the meantime, I get the bus power. Let's hope it helps. Yeah, we're old enough to remember when the Good Humor truck would drive through the neighborhood.
I still have an ice cream truck that comes by.
I'm old enough that for one summer I drove an ice cream truck.
I'm old enough that we had a guy that had this little push cart that he'd walk around the neighborhood in with and ring his little chime on his handlebar. And
yeah. Well, I remember the small Good Humor ice cream trucks that the guy actually had to get out of the truck and walk around the back to open it up.
Hey, that saved somebody from the tall man once.
What?
Phantasm.
Ah.
We never saw you see the movie Phantasm?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, the tall man is one of the main characters, the main villain of the thing, and one of the main lead protagonists was an ice cream man. And he opened up his thing, the ice cream thing, and the cold. The guy didn't like the cold, and it kept him from getting a hold of this one kid.
Yep. Taco trucks. Yeah.
One man here who play he's chicken in the straw. Well, the ice cream truck.
I don't know what the tunes were that they played. I also remember that we had a Tasty Freeze truck that did soft serve ice cream.
Well, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, when I was upstairs with Sloth Girl a few hours ago, I was saying about just the things that the I'm so old that things, and that especially that kids these days won't get. But when I got my driver's license, it was illegal to pump your own gas.
yeah, a lot of young people have no idea what it's like when in the old days where you'd pull in, got some guy come out in his little uniform and pump your gas and wash your windows and
Yep, you
check
pop
your
the hood and
oil
you
and
check your oil and your washer fluid.
sometimes even air pressure in the tires.
Yep.
Full service this gas station.
Yep.
When the shop I worked at opened up, they had a paid kid to go out and pump gas because it was not legal to do it yourself. Which was dumb because he was just some stupid high school kid. I could barely even spell gas.
Yeah, well, I remember, the debate they had in Illinois when I was living down there, and they were a couple of states had already approved the self-service stations, and Illinois was deciding whether or not they would, or whether it was too dangerous to let the average idiot pump their own gas. Because the industry, of course, was arguing that, you need a trained professional to do this, because people will start themselves on fire, which does happen. Sloth Brother said her brother was a gas jockey.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't mind if we return to that. Or at least get rid of gas altogether.
Well, in Wisconsin, they have a law that if you have a disabled license plate or a thing hanging on your mirror, that you go to a gas station, even whether it's full service or not, they have to come out and pump your gas for you.
Not a bad law.
I can see the purpose of that law. I don't really see how you would get it to happen, especially, with all the gas stations that are, like the Quick Mart things. I don't see how you would ever get a person to come out. Oh my God.
Oh, here's something we were talking about a couple weeks ago. We were talking about electric cars, and we were talking about charging systems for them on the road and things. I saw a thing on TV today. Tesla opened up 7,500 charging stations to any electric car.
That's a good step.
Yeah, it is.
Well, I guess Tesla finally realized that they weren't going to corner the market by having chargers that only worked for their own cars. So this way, at least, that they can charge some other people for recharging. I think they did finally agree to allow other companies to put their charging connector on their stations too, though. I think that some states were forcing them to do that. Because basically what Tesla was trying to do was make it so that when you bought one of their cars, you basically were forced into a lifetime contract of only recharging at their stations for whatever they wanted to charge.
I don't see how that was going to work out in the long run.
No, but that's what they were trying to do. And I think that they gave up on that, because some other companies got electric cars that are popular enough to be competition.
Tesla's really getting its ass dragged through the bushes right now with their self-driving car mistakes.
Oh, jeez. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Sloth Girl was just telling me about one of those that a Tesla had driven onto a freshly paved road that the concrete hadn't set yet.
Oh.
So it sunk into the wet concrete.
Ooh.
That's one of the things I was wondering about, is just, what if somebody didn't update the map so the thing doesn't know there's a detour?
Well, Elon Musk said that that it's wrong to call this a recall on his cars. That I'll say, because all we have to do to fix it is to send down a software update from the cloud. But so that's not a recall. Oh, yes, it is. Yeah, oh man, guy's such a turd.
Well, how many years ago was he? They said that we'd have the 100% self-driving cars, and it would be financial suicide to buy anything except a Tesla.
Yeah, I remember some kind of scuttlebutt about that.
Yeah, but if you bought a Tesla, that you could make it do Uber by itself and you'd be earning $30,000 a year. I think that was like 2017 or so that he said that. I still don't understand what he thought he was doing buying Twitter, but I don't think anyone does.
Probably not even him.
Yep. In a matter of a couple of months, he lost the GDP of several nations. Half of the nations in the UN did not have a GDP as much as he has lost on Twitter.
And Twitter runs like a piece of crap now.
Yeah, okay. Does it do this to anyone else that if you try to go to, get the thing for the emojis up, does it like sit there and does it like take a full minute to bring that up on yours?
No.
Okay, mine it's just a really long pause waiting for it to bring that up. That's why I hardly ever use the emojis. It takes too bloody long waiting for it.
Comes up pretty quick. It was a slight delay, but
yeah, it could be like my ad blocker may make it take longer.
Which ad block are you using?
Adblock Plus on Chrome.
Yeah, I'd say just switching to uBlock Origins. It does a lot better job than Adblock Plus. Plus, it's less detectable.
No, actually, it is. Yeah, uBlock Origins is the one that I've got active now. I had to go and check. I couldn't remember. But yeah, obviously I know it's a different thing if you're doing it on a desktop than on a mobile device. Most everybody's using Twitter on a mobile device, so they don't see the same thing I see on the desktop. Well, Musk had artificially propped up the value of Twitter stock and promised people that he would be the last one to sell it off. So then when he sold a bunch of his own Tesla stock, a lot of other people sold off too, and that's driven the value down.
Yeah,
which
it's
basically just proves
getting them on that one.
Yeah, it basically just proves the stock was never worth as much as he claimed it was in the first place. Yep. Yeah, George, I do believe that one of Elon's excuse me, one of his biggest motivations for buying Twitter was to control what people said about him.
Did you hear what he did this last week with these satellites and stuff? Biden got on and made some comments about the satellites on TV, and somebody was checking trends or Nielsen ratings or whatever, and more people listened to Biden talking than listened to Elon Musk making comments on Twitter about the satellites. And they say it got him so mad he made the engineers work overtime and to change the algorithm so that anything he says has priority.
Yep. I saw that, but he made them change the algorithms to try and promote his tweets.
What a child.
Starlink has been having a real bad year with their satellites too. I forget the numbers of how many it was they've launched this year, but they were putting them in too low of an orbit, and something like 38% of the satellites launched this year fell back to Earth.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a pretty significant number of them that apparently something with the space weather, with the amount of solar winds going on, they had miscalculated the orbits on them. So they were being released in too low of an orbit to keep themselves stable.
Well, there is more particulate, which is atom density. The closer you get to the atmosphere, because it tapers off as you go
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, and they're moving fast enough that small particulate amount still causes some drag on them.
Oh yeah, it absolutely does. That's why we have meteorites.
Yep.
Well, that sounds like kind of a stupid mistake for high-end people to make. I mean, if you got a company and you're launching rockets and shit, that sounds like something that they should have known about to begin with.
They're blaming it on the government agency that gave them the space weather reports.
Yeah, bullshit. That's not a weather report. It's a constant.
Well, no, apparently it isn't a constant. It does vary with the amount of solar activity. But of course, they say that they have found the problem and they have fixed it, so it won't be happening anymore.
Uh-huh.
We'll see. But I mean, yeah, it's satellite launches aren't cheap. They had to have lost a lot of money there.
Well, they launched the thing like what 15, 20 of them at a time, because they're just these little bitty mini satellites that.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many it can take up at once. We might be able to find out.
He pisses me off. I heard that. He played. Oh, look, I'm the generous, white knight on a white horse. When the Ukraine war started, because I'm going to give you guys Starlink, and then the Russians can't interfere. Now that they've been on for a while, now he's going to say, well, you're going to have to start paying for that, or we'll cut you off.
Okay, apparently the Starlink launches are 20 satellites on each launch.
I haven't seen any of those chains of satellites. I don't know if our latitude is too high, or whatever, but I've seen videos of other people seeing them.
Yeah, I have never seen a line of them like that either. When I was up in Michigan, we'd watch the sky, and sometime we'd see a single satellite pass over, but I never saw groups of them.
They look pretty cool. I mean, they're just these little dots, and they're just traveling in this straight line together, and it's kind
of. Good night, Carol.
Who's leaving? Who's leaving?
Carol's signing out here.
Oh, Carol. Good night, honey bunny.
Ew. Came across the video.
Elon Temple. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Which video is that, Mage?
Chinese yin yang fish. The outer body of it's deep fried while the head is protected, so the animal is alive, even is served alive, and will be around for about a half hour.
Oh
God, that's barbaric.
Cool.
Yeah.
And certainly, I would not want anything that is still alive when it is served to me. Sorry, I'm not a predator. I'm a scavenger. It's got to be dead before I get to it.
Well, I'm thinking, okay, you're going to deep fry this fish that's still alive. That means it's still a functioning creature, and its
Yeah.
intestines are still working. So what are you actually eating there?
Well,
The outer flesh, I'm guessing.
I'm just thinking, they're protecting its head to keep it alive. So it is feeling all the pain of its whole body being deep fried.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's just horrible. That's just completely inhumane.
Yeah, that is. I agree 100%. God, and who does that?
China.
The country is so weird.
They have a thing about serving live food.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
Serving, like live baby octopus is a thing there too.
Yeah, it's a way of showing that the food is fresh.
Well, it's just another one of those misogynistic
Yeah.
countries.
Okay, so can we agree there's something as going too far as your food being too fresh?
Yeah.
Yeah, Hunter's got a good point too.
What's that?
What chemicals is it releasing because of the pain trauma? Well, okay, when extreme levels of pain, doesn't that make you release a lot of adrenaline?
Well, it would make us do that if they deep fried my ass.
Well, I think with any animal it does because the adrenaline surge prompts the fight or flight response.
If they did that to me, I think it begs one very big question: what would you taste like? And could you taste yourself? Like, yeah, give me a bite of my arm.
Yeah, would your brain and your sensory organs survive long enough for you to taste yourself, huh?
It's just a cruel concept.
That was about as bad as the live lobster I've come across.
What, eating them live?
They cut the tail off and cook up the tail and flip the tail back upside down, stick it back into the lobster, and then serve the cooked meat in the tail like a bowl.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay, topic switch.
Yeah.
I won't eat lobster, and how it is prepared is one of the big reasons why. It's just, I just can't even think of doing that kind of cruelty to an animal. It's just so totally wrong.
Well, back to the cabbage. Did you know
there's-
that one of the uses historically of cabbage is that in colonial times they would put a cabbage leaf under their hat in the summer to help keep cool?
Did it work?
I suppose it was better than nothing, just because I guess it would kind of, wick some of the heat off of the top of your head. But, I expect it would be about the same as just putting a damp rag on your head.
Well, I don't know. Doesn't seem the same.
Oh, God. I didn't know they actually did that. I thought that was just a horrific thing they did for a movie.
Oh, my God.
Faces of Death. I saw that one.
Okay, yeah, Andrew says that was BS, that they don't actually do that. But, you never know. Different cultures, different countries. You can never know what they're going to say is acceptable in their culture. But yeah, I would also have a problem, eating definitely primates or cephalopods, because too much indication that, they have a reasonable level of intelligence. Same reason I wouldn't eat cats or dogs.
I'm not gonna get into the story anymore.
So, yeah, we should go back to eating vegetables because, nobody is going to argue too much about the intelligence of the vegetables.
I've
Well-
been hearing a lot of discussion on public radio recently about the generalized discussion of the intelligence of plants. Primarily trees they talk about, but they said that it extends to many other plants as well, and how they communicate and things like that. And that some people are actually considering what trees are capable of doing to be a certain level of consciousness. That they seem to be aware of their surroundings, and they communicate with other trees and other plants.
Well, there's a plant that may actually be able to see.
Yeah, I saw a video on that.
Really, what's that?
That there's it's a type of vine that actually can change the shape of its own leaves to mimic the plant it is growing on.
Oh yeah, you were showing that on your show, right?
Yeah, I posted in the DMs. I was talking about how I'd like to get my hands on that kind of plant and see how many different leaves I can get it to change into,
Yeah.
and reproduce the fake plant experiment they did. They took the thing and they put it next to a fake plant, and they actually had to see if it would mimic the leaves of the fake plant, and it did. And they also, for the experiment, they took other plants and put it underneath of it and just kind of covered it up so they couldn't see it, and it didn't mimic those plants. But there's some arguments as to if the experiment was done properly with controls.
Yeah, well, the fake plant would be a really interesting one because that would, refute the idea that it's like getting some chemical signals.
Yeah, as the whole point.
Yeah.
But like I said, there was some arguments about the controls, like the lighting and everything. There might have been conditional other conditions that could cause it. But
yeah, well, true. The amount of light it was getting could certainly be affecting it.
So I would love to get my hands on some of these plants and test that out myself.
Yeah, I forget, what type of vine they said it was or what part of the world it's native to.
South America, the tip end, I believe.
The tip and Tierra del Fuego.
Antur, I guess if you put it next to your cat, it would grow toe beans.
Boquilla trifolata.
So is that from the South American rainforest?
Yeah.
Aquilla.
What was that?
I think that might be pronounced Akia. Not IKEA, but Akia. I'm just guessing. I don't speak Spanish, but it seems to me that a couple of L's together are like it's not Padilla, it's Padilla.
Boquilla.
Oh, okay.
Boquilla. I don't know.
When I'm confused about a foreign word, I will put it into Google Translate and make it to make it pronounce.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I usually do. Look up pronunciation.
I do that a lot too, and it's usually pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes some languages it doesn't do so good.
Whenever I write a tweet that has something to do with Ukraine, I will publish it with English and Ukraine, and I will always label Google Translate, so the people know that I'm not just somebody who massacres Ukrainian, but that I'm at least trying to use Google, and they're screwing up the Ukrainian.
Well, I have said the extent of my foreign language skills is I can say I don't understand you in 7 languages, And in every case, I can butcher the grammar so badly it will definitely drive home the point.
Yeah, that would do it. I just think it's really neat how we've come with translators and things like that. I
Yep.
haven't seen one myself, but the device that you can actually talk and it will translate in real time, and into an earphone in your ear, so that you can have
Yeah.
an actual real time conversation with somebody.
Well, and how far that has come in the last 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
One of their earlier attempts at computer translators back in the late 70s, they had designed one to translate between English and Russian. And they gave it the phrase in English, "The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak." And then when they got the Russian answer to that, they fed that back in the other side to translate back from Russian into English. And it came back, "The vodka is good, but the meat is raw."
Oh, well, okay. That wouldn't be the same thing.
No, it doesn't quite carry the same meaning. But that's the problem when they only translate word for word without some idea of context. Yeah, but the real trick is to be able to speak a foreign language without offending the people who understand it.
And that that language translation is so delicate and so difficult. It's the whole concept of like English. They refer to it in Asian countries. When they try to translate American words into Asian language, or try to use American words as a popular catchphrase or something like that. That they'll use American words just because they're cool, and they won't have any idea what the word they're actually saying is. And when we see it, we laugh our asses off because it's so inappropriately used. But they think it's cool, and we do the same thing. I mean, every time I see somebody with Chinese or Japanese or Korean or something, some of the Asian alphabets tattooed on themselves, I always wonder, what does it really say?
Yeah.
How do you know that that actually says, oh, well, strength and power, okay, yeah, maybe it says, I'm a pussy, you don't know.
I've heard enough things about that, about people who had, Chinese or Japanese characters tattooed on, and later found out that it was just a selection from a menu.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't really have the profound saying they thought it did. It just said something like chicken with sauce.
That would be funny. I like on some of the cautionary signs that you see where they have it in several different languages in some place, and when you get to the English one, it's just completely strange. I love reading the caution paragraphs on things like disposable lighters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They use some backwoods translator, and they're just always laughable. They're so badly written.
Oh yeah, and anytime that you get a product that's got an instruction manual and they clearly ran it through a computer translator with no one who speaks English ever looking at it.
Yeah, and and to be fair, it goes both ways. I'm sure we do that. That's why I put the Google line on anything that I sent as a translated language.
I did have the problem one time of buying a power tool, and the instruction manual had 7 languages, but English wasn't one of them. Apparently, I got the version that was only supposed to be sold in Europe. So it had like French and Spanish and Turkish and whatever, but didn't have any English.
Well, if you do international selling of your goods in America, you are required to have both the English, French, and Spanish translations for your product. both on the box and in the instructions and anything like that.
Yeah.
We used to have to do that at Walther's for some of the miniature trains that we sold.
Well, I'm not sure exactly what the laws are, but virtually anything you buy in Canada will have tri-language, that it has to have English, Spanish, and French on it. You got to have French because of Quebec.
Yeah, and of course Spanish is the dominant language in Mexico and in southern United States. It's growing and growing. Someday America will be a Spanish-speaking nation. I would bet my ass on that. I'll be dead before it happens, but it's going to happen.
I don't know. I think it's going to become more and more bilingual, but I can't see that English is really going to be going away.
Well, this is, I don't know the genetics of it all, but I always understood that Native Americans are pretty much in the same family as Mexicans or anybody from South America or Central America. Or basically, it's one big genetic pool from all the way to Tierra del Fuego up to Dead Horse, Alaska. And their separations are more political than anything else.
Well, yeah, all the people who were native to the Americans pretty much all came across the Bering Strait during the last ice age.
See, and there's that theory is being thrown out because they said, look, if this was a glacier system that crossed that area, it would be virtually impenetrable by humans with their technology to be able to cross it because of the crevasses and elevation changes and all this different stuff, and the trouble with ice, that they would never be able to make it.
Well, it wasn't really the ice that they were crossing so much as that because the glaciers locked up more of the water, it dropped the sea level to the point that that the chain of islands across the Bering Strait became a land bridge.
No. When we were in our ice age, the entire fucking globe was covered with ice. There were some small pockets in equatorial zones that may have been slightly warmer, but virtually the whole planet was covered with ice. It didn't. Yeah, sure, it occupied all that water, and maybe that was nice dry ground underneath it, but everything else was ice, packed solid, miles deep. And
I can't say it's a period I've studied a lot on. So
yeah, well, I admit to not being a geology student, but again, it's things I've read in various journals or magazines like National Geographic or something like that.
yeah, I've been less interested in the prehistory after humans appeared.
Hey, did y'all hear that Dr. Phil is going to retire?
No.
Really?
Yeah. Getting that punk off the air, finally.
Well, Dr. Oz pretty much killed his career by trying to run for office.
Yeah, he sure did. Ha ha ha.
Now none of the TV stations will have him on anymore.
Well, and a guy like that, he's been on long enough that if he hasn't put enough money away to not have to ever work again in his life, then he's a fool.
Yeah. Although it's possible that he put the money away and then wasted it all on his campaign.
Yeah, that's possible, but I think that's highly unlikely.
No, but I can hope. It would be funny if the campaign bankrupted him in the process.
He is a fully qualified and practicing emergency room doctor.
I wasn't sure what his actual doctorate or.
That's what I understand his specialty was emergency medicine. And that's a very sophisticated physician. That's a very competent person, which just made for me more incredulous that he would back some of the woo and shit that he did. It's like, come on, you're an educated man. How can you be supporting this bullshit?
Yeah, I can't see how anyone with actual medical training can be anti-vax.
Hmm.
You know, you've got to just be lying to be popular. There's really no other explanation for that. You've got to understand how viruses and vaccines work.
Or you could be Rand Paul and just, think that because you're an ophthalmologist, it's the same as a doctor.
Oh, if you're wondering why I'm being quiet, I was just playing around with chat at GDP, and hey, it got the answers right to the questions I asked it.
Ah, hasn't got any good jokes yet.
I didn't ask it a dad joke. Let's get it to see. Tell a dad joke. What did the tomato? Why did the tomato turn red? Because it saw all the salad dressing.
Okay, it's getting there. It's getting there. That is definitely the kind of joke a dad would tell a 5-year-old.
There's a reason why they put people in jail for telling dad jokes.
I didn't know they did.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
surprised they never caught up to me.
Well, there's so many. It's a waiting list to get in.
Yeah, that's what's causing the prison overpopulation, huh?
Yeah, dad joke offenders. Worse than heroin. It'll sort of kill you faster than heroin.
Well, since I'm transitioning, does that mean I'm no longer telling dad jokes?
No, you can still tell dad jokes.
I don't know. I think you should lose your certification.
I was never really a dad, even when I was presenting mail. They still regarded me as being more of a mom. Which made sense because to most of the kids, I spent more time with them than their mom did, but I was the stay-at-home parent most of the time.
I need to take a break and have a chat with my toilet.
Well, actually, I was thinking that maybe we should just wrap up here. So.
Oh yeah, we could do that. 2.5 minutes to go here.
Yeah. Yep. So, anybody got anything coming up they want to plug?
Not really. I'm thinking it might be you trying live streaming things either some Saturday here.
I saw that you were trying to decide on what would be a good time for it, and
yeah,
Granny had said if you did Saturday afternoon that she could follow you.
Yeah, that might work.
It could help. You put the two of them back to back for the power hour. Oh, there goes Jenny.
Oh.
So she had to run. Okay, we need to go for another 2 minutes here to make the 2-hour mark. Oh, Sloth Girl, you still there? You got one more joke for us? See, I can never bring up the jokes just when I want to. It's just, it has to be the process of when they ran the conversation.
Sorry, I didn't mean to push the wrong button there.
Okay, well, I thought that maybe the call of nature had become urgent.
No, I think I can hang in there. And if I can't, that just gets my legs wet, You.
All right, let's see. Tell a dad joke from Chat GPT. Why don't scientists trust atoms? Because they make up everything.
Yep.
Oh, that's stolen. Sorry, That didn't make that up.
No.
Of course it's not making these up.
Yeah, it's trying to pull them off the internet somewhere.
Yeah, it's just pulls everything off the internet. That's what it does.
Come kind of interesting, but
George, by the way, welcome. This is the first time I've seen your name here. Welcome to the insanity of our chat. I agree with you. That's one thing I would like to get is to a translator that can take a video that you're watching and give you a real-time translation as you're watching this video. I mean, it could work for movies and all that kind of stuff then too.
yeah, I think that they got to get quite a bit faster to actually be able to, do it in real time without having at least a few second lag.
Yeah, and that's no worse than the subtitles you get on TV, from the automatic systems on TV and cable and stuff like that. They're always lagging a little behind.
Yep. Yeah, Aunt Jura should go and check out. Everybody should check out Aunt Jura's merch store. She has some really good adult coloring books out there.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Yes, they are very nice designs. I approved every one myself. No, she let me see them before she published, and they were very nice looking.
Yeah, I saw some examples she posted to the groups. I haven't seen the entire book.
Jared, do you have a recommended medium to use to color those?
For most adult coloring books, I think colored pencils work the best. That's just my opinion.
Some of these art pens, can be a very fine tip and don't bleed like, a Sharpie or something like that.
Yeah. That could be. I don't know what brands would be like that. I know even the ultra-fine Sharpies can tend to bleed if you're trying to do an area with them.
Well, that's not an art pen either.
Yeah.
I've seen art pen selections go for over $100.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. I don't really know about the ones that are actual art pens. I only know about the stuff that's, kind of generally sold along with the office supplies.
I'm about to pull the chain on buying embroidery. I've been obsessed with embroidery all my life, and I've wanted to do it. And I'm finally about to pull the trigger and to actually start buying some floss and needles and frames and stuff. And God, there's the colors of all the floss and stuff are just so beautiful.
Oh yeah.
Was that Amazon I was looking? No. It was on Michael's website. They had this selection that you could buy. It was 400 different colors. And then they had them spread out like a spectrum, and it was just like, wow, was that beautiful?
Yeah.
It's so exciting to look at getting it. It's expensive shit though.
Yeah, well, it's expensive to get into. Sloth Girl does the counted cross stitch, so I know what you mean. That sometimes she sent me to find the colors, and if she doesn't give me the numbers for them, I don't trust that I'm going to get the right shade because there are hundreds of shades and colors.
Hey, Mark, what is your lathe? Is that one? You say big lathe, but is that like what size bed is that you're talking about? As far as the embroidery goes, my intent with it is to do kind of traditional stuff. I like some of the basic flowers in a ring and that sort of stuff. And like you got your little home sweet home kind of expressions. Except I want to do adult sayings and things like that.
Well, I love the look of the embroidery work, but I don't think I would have the patience for it.
And I saw this other really, really pretty thing that some people do. Like they'll take a pair of somebody's jeans, and out the back pocket, it seems to be a popular location. Yep. They'll use the upper seam of the pocket like that's the earth, and then have flowers blooming out of the pocket. And it's just they're just very, very pretty. I really like them.
Oh yeah, I've seen that before.
the back pocket of jeans are extremely popular thing for embroidery and personalizing. It's something I would love, actually. Jenni, if it's something that you wanted to do, it's something that I might pay you to customize a couple pairs of jeans for me.
Well, give me some time to actually get competent.
Oh yeah, you need some practice with it first.
When I worked the hotline, the 24-hour day hotline, and sometimes you're there at 3 a.m. and absolutely bored to tears because there aren't any calls coming in. I would embroider my jeans, except I was still wearing them. And I was just doing these freeform things. Imagine how they used to illustrate the nervous system with all these, curvy things that branch off and all this kind of stuff. I would do those kinds of designs on my jeans in ballpoint, and then I would come back and embroider them, which was sometimes painful.
Well, yeah, while you're wearing them, I can see you might wind up stabbing yourself a lot.
Yeah, it got a lot easier when I scored some curved needles, which you don't usually use with embroidery, but it sure worked when you're wearing them.
Mm-hmm.
3 foot gap. Wow, 18 swing. Oh man, that is cool. Is that a metal lathe or wood lathe? I should have asked that too.
Yeah, I'm assuming he means a wood lathe, but I wasn't sure either. I actually got pretty good with a metal lathe when I was in high school. Because
lathe work is amazing. I'm sorry, I'm just in a talking mode here. I've been watching some videos on YouTube about lathe work and some of the stuff that these guys are doing out of wood that is just amazing. They take an actual stump of a tree and they find a way to center it as best they can and get it going. And they take it off when they get around and stuff like that. It has all the intricacies of the roots and stuff that were still there, except now they're not sticking out. It's just you're just seeing like cross sections of everything. But it just makes for some really beautiful pieces. And they leave some imperfections in a lot of times, and they're just very cool.
Sloth Girl likes the guys who do resin work. That we've watched a bunch of videos about. That they'll have various objects that they'll encase in a block of resin and then they'll put it on a lathe.
Yeah. The one I've seen very popular is they take colored pencils.
Yep.
And
I've watched a couple of those.
It's pretty neat. Mark, so what kind of stuff do you make with your lathe? I love lathe work, and I was never very good on a metal lathe because I've never had any official training.
Now, see, a wood lathe scares me because you're holding the tool by hand, and if you can't exactly control your hand, especially if you try to cut a little too deep, that tool's going to jump right out of your hand and hit you in the face.
Oh,
on a metal lathe, you clamp the tool down so it holds on to it for you.
Mark, can we get married? I would love to own a Bridgeport or a Cologne. That would just be so much fun. Wow, that's cool. I'm jealous. Wood lathe is actually perfectly safe because you're not holding the tool as much as you're holding it on the tool holder. When you have that thing and you got this tool holder, spaced away from your work, you have it resting on your hand is on top of it, and the rest of the tool is up against your body.
Yeah, I know. I've used one, but still, if you wind up pushing it in a little too far into the work,
well,
it's just
sneeze.
Yeah, it's just gonna work like a lever.
Yeah.
And the handle of the tool is gonna come flying up at incredible force.
Yeah, well, all tools are dangerous. You can't let them scare you that way.
Well, I have Tourette's. My arm twitches and does things without me telling it to.
Well, but see, you have an advantage there too, because once something bad happens from the Tourette's, you'll also be able to cuss it out, like crazy. I'm sorry, that was a stereotype.
Actually, I tend to mostly just make random nonsense syllables. And that is because when I was younger, I did swear with it. And I spent many years trying to train myself not to swear. So now it just comes out as unintelligible things. And when I was in my early 20s, my roommate thought it was an alien language. He was going to compile it and figure it out.
Uh-huh. I would love to get a lathe and do woodworking that way. I have no skill for doing precision woodworking like cabinetry and stuff like that. I just
Yeah.
can't visualize the curve and how everything measures up correctly in my head. But lathe work, that's that you're not measuring a lot of shit there. You're just cutting.
No. On a lathe, wood turning is more of an art. Whereas a lot of other woodworking, it is more precise measurements.
Yeah. In let's see, was it junior high school? Yeah, in junior high school wood shop, they got us to work on a lathe, and I made some salt and pepper shakers.
Well, that's why, I was good with the metal lathe, because the metal lathe was more just, everything was precision measured, and you clamp the tool down and it would automatically feed the tool along the work.
Yeah. My older brother is a high-end machinist and tool maker and things, and he worked at a company for almost 20 years. That was one of the suppliers or vendors that was making parts for the space shuttle. That's got to be cool. It's you're doing all these one-up things, and it's going to go in space.
Yeah, and needing it to be ultra precise, not just the exact dimensions, but that, the weight being off a fraction of a gram would matter.
We had a guy in our community for a while. I won't say the name, who was a high-end machinist engineer type for NASA. Actually NASA, not a vendor, but actual NASA. And the stuff he was working on, occasionally he'd show a picture or two here and there, but he would never tell you what it is or what it's going to do or anything like that. And because it was absolutely classified stuff. He was not allowed to talk about it at all.
Yeah, my late fiance, the company that she had been working for before I met her, she found out, it was electronics assembly. She was just HR department, but at some point, they wouldn't tell them what things were. And at some point, she found out that one of the boards they were making was for the controls of an Apache helicopter.
Yeah, that would be something somebody wants to.
Yeah, so they were getting contracts for military equipment, and that's why they weren't allowed to know what it was.
I always wanted to get good at a bridge part. They are just the ultimate tool. Of course, nowadays you got shit like laser and water jet cutting and guided plasma and things like this that are so impressive.
Well, I mean, I would love to have one of those, CDC computer controlled cutters.
Well, nowadays if you have something you need to have made, do a high quality technical drawing of it, a 3-view, and you can send it off to machine shops on over the cloud, and they can make your part and send it back to you. I did that with custom dashboards that I was making for rally cars and stuff. That they'd say, "Oh, we want these gauges," and I'd go, "Okay, we'll lay them out on the thing." And when we agree on a layout, then I would draw it up on the Mac and send them an SVG file, and they would take it and cut this dashboard piece for you, the faceplate, and get it back to you, and it would be back in your hands in less than 10 days usually.
Yeah, I'm sure that custom work like that does not come cheap, though. My projects, I never have the budget for anything like that.
Well, see, that's the glory of it, because you've made this drawing, and if there's expectations and specifications of the drawing so that they can just plug it into the CNC machines without them dicking around, and so the cost can stay way down there because their in time that they have to put into it is so low because you've done all the work. And they're just, they just got a machine operator that feeds it in and stuff. I mean, you're not writing a whole CNC program, but you don't need a whole CNC program on some of the 3D printers and stuff like that nowadays, or a water jet cutter.
Yeah.
It just has to go, it has to have a home point and then the drawing, and it just knows what to do. It's incredible. I miss that stuff, and now I want to do embroidery. What a strange life.
Like I said, I love the look of the embroidery. I just don't think I would have the patience to do, little things like that.
Well, I don't know if I do either. It's a test, but I thought about that, and I think that it's one of those kind of things that, while you're learning, it's going to be uncomfortable and annoying, and you're going to want to, I want to take a break and quit and stop doing that. And but once you have some of the basics real solid in your repertoire, I can see it as something that would just become a very zen sort of thing to do. That it would you get into it, and the world disappears around you.
Well, I think if you want to get a feel for it, like you say, it can cost a lot to get started, but kind of a step into it would be you can buy some, counted cross stitch kits. So you wouldn't be putting a lot of money into it, and you'd get, all the colors you need there, and it would give you an idea for what it's like to do it.
Yeah, there are definitely little kits that you can buy that are $10, and they give you the frame and needles and floss and, and instructions. Yeah, I would definitely start with those kinds of things, but I know how I operate, and I would want to be doing the custom stuff way way before I'm qualified to do it, because that's just how I do shit. It's how I wreck cars and stuff too.
Oh. I'm trying to find something here now.
George, are you referring to like one of those Chinese lathes that you get out of Harbor Freight, one of those benchtop lathes with a small bed and stuff? If you're getting that kind of tolerance, hundredths of a millimeter, geez, that's pretty damn good. Because those things run on just these nylon gear sets that are just known for their softness and wobble and shit.
A small bed just means you have to spoon real close.
Yeah, it does.
Ag.
Oh, see, now you went and said that. I had such a great sex dream the other night. Oh my God.
I saw you posted something about that. Of course, that wasn't the one about the dinosaurs trying to eat you, huh?
No. I never did really specify what kind of eating they intended, did I?
No, you didn't.
Okay, well, we won't talk about that then.
Here we go. Picture, present, share screen. This is a cross stitch that Sloth Girl did for me for my birthday a couple of years ago.
Not presenting yet.
Oh. Yeah, I keep forgetting that did that extra thing. There we go. And she did this while we were in Michigan, and it took first prize at the county fair.
Wow. That's really nice.
Yep. Yeah, it's before it was framed or anything, but yeah, it's just all, it's different shades of green. It's an awesome piece.
Did you take that picture?
Yeah, I took the picture.
All right, I'm going to give you a lesson, and everybody else out there who's paying attention and not going to turn me off because I'm talking like an asshole.
Yeah, I'm horrible with the photography.
All you have to do when you're taking a picture of something like that is get your camera so that the lens is in the middle of the work that you're photographing, and up, of course, high enough so that you get the whole work in there. If you got your lens in the middle of the object, it will be square, or it will be rectangular, just like the object. It won't be tapered like this when you can't really see it.
Well, actually, that was while it was on display at the fair. So I had to be behind the barrier, away from the table, and I couldn't get in closer to it.
Well, tell them fuck off and just go across the barrier. All they can do is yell at you.
Yeah, I don't like getting yelled at, especially in public. In public, I only do things that I have plausible deniability for.
Well, Sloth Girl, that's beautiful. That's just really neat. And that's counted cross stitch, huh?
Yeah.
Nice. The only problem I run into is trying to
But,
get that overhead shot you were talking about is if there's a light behind me, then you get the shadow.
Yeah, to give you an idea for the size of this, though.
A light behind you is definitely bad. That looks about 12 by 12.
Well, actually, the canvas is like 15 by 15, so it's a little over a foot square.
Yes, a light behind you is killer. When it used to be called copy work, where you put a camera on a rack and you'd have lights coming in and copy documents. But you can do it with objects too. You always have the lighting source, one equal on right one and one on the left, and they come in at a 45-degree angle, and you won't get any reflection or glare or anything into the camera. That way, it works.
Yeah, I have lights specifically for that.
Oh, okay. You have a copy stand. Cool.
Yeah. Well, I don't. Yeah, I got some lights because I was going to be using them for photographing stuff, and I just needed the shadowless light.
Yeah. Another thing people are doing, if you need a shot down straight down, is they're buying those photo cubes, for the shadowless lighting box for eBay and stuff like that, and they cut a hole in the top panel to fit the camera lens through.
Yeah, well, I know. I know I suck at photography. And Jenni, I have to get you to visit here sometime to to do a photo shoot for me.
No, I'll make you do it yourself. I'll just show you how.
Well, I mean, if you're doing a photo shoot of me, though, I can't do it myself. I can't be both in front of and behind the camera at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, photography is essentially easy if you just get somebody who can teach you the right way first time. It's really easy stuff. There's no real trick to it. Composition and that kind of stuff, that's different. But when you're doing, like, taking a shot for eBay or taking a shot to record, like that art piece that she did, it's really quite easy, and anybody can do it. It just takes somebody saying, no, do this, do that, and the rule applies across all of them. You use the same rule over and over and over and over.
Why is it that anything artistic, people who do it say that anyone can do it?
Because what the stuff I'm talking about is technical stuff, not art. Okay? Anybody can learn technical stuff. That has set rules and things like that. That if you're taking a picture of that square thing, that if you are above it and right in the center, the lens, distortion is now you don't have to consider it. You don't have to consider, it warping, the perspective kind of warpage on the sides or right to left. And that's a technical thing. There's nothing about composition. It's just keep the camera straight and, perpendicular and parallel and that kind of stuff. It's just rules. It's not art. That's why people can do it, because they can learn rules. But composition, that's something that comes from within. It's something you can learn, but it takes a long time, and it's genuine art.
Even a set of rules, you've got to be able to remember them all and apply them in the correct order.
Yeah, see, but that's the thing. They're so simple and there's so few of them. That's like you were talking. You made that mention earlier about food photography. No, that's not fake food. That's real food. But there's all these things that you can do to cheat and to make it look really yummy. And
Well, yeah, that's that. It's technically real food, but the way they put it together, it's not necessarily edible. And sometimes they use a lot of, like glues and paints on it. A lot of
Yeah.
times it's airbrushed.
one of my favorites that I spotted is it's a soup commercial. I think it's probably Campbell's or something, and they're showing how wonderful this tomato soup is when you have it with like a grilled cheese sandwich. And so the soup is in the bowl, and it's on an angle similar to how you shot the Triceratops. But the bowl, I can look at the bowl and I know that it's this narrow bowl, which means that they don't have a lot of soup in there. They have maybe 1/4 of an inch of soup, but the camera doesn't know how deep it is. And so they can take this single piece of sandwich, and when they dip it in, yeah, they'd only get 1/4 inch. But then what they have the model do is they dip it in and drag it out to the camera.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, there's one I had hanging on my closet door.
Yeah, that's perfect. If you wanted to make that a digital thing to have printed, then you can take it into most phone software has cropping tools, and there's cropping tools that can deal with that perspective warp. That thing's narrow on one end and wider on the other. And so you can make it square, and then you can make it into a photographic print. Take it to Walgreens and say, make one of these for me. That's why you want to take the time to do those sorts of things, because you have that resource then later.
I'd probably get in a little bit closer to kind of get it in the full.
Yeah, closer is always better.
Well, that's one of the nice things with the, just even the basic photography computers on the basic photography tools on the computer, so that you can always just go in and you can crop out the background.
Yeah, it drives me crazy, when people have pictures, on Twitter or Facebook or whatever, and they're showing them, and it's obvious that they have never even attempted to use the software that is built into their phone. They come up with these pictures that are like dark as shit. Well, if you take that into your software or editing software, honest to God, it will take you less than 5 seconds to take a slider bar and move it over and watch it get lighter as you move it. And when it gets to where you look like it, you stop and you're done. And it suddenly got this piece of crap, and now it looks great.
Well, how many people actually know that exists?
Well, yeah, people are lazy and don't take advantage of stuff that they have, but it's there, and it's so effortless.
I still don't remember I have a phone in my pocket all the time, let alone that the thing's got a camera on it.
Well, then we have to tape it to your face. Then you'll know it's there.
I still won't remember it's got a camera. I'm from old school. When we were able to take the phone in the other room only because it had a 25-foot cord.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. And forgive me, chat. Forgive me, panel. I love to teach. I love teaching so much. I feel such a personal responsibility to pass on knowledge, generation to generation, kind of thing. And so I'd love to teach for that reason, and I love the joy on people's faces as they learn. Oh, I can do that. Look what I can do. It's just a real kick to me. And my areas of specialty are photography. I used to teach at UW Milwaukee. Car stuff. I ran a shop for a couple of decades, and I spent a decade in social services, drug use and abuse, crisis intervention stuff, and I love teaching what I know about that.
Well, we're going to have to get you to visit here for a weekend and give me a crash course in photography.
Sure, we can do that.
Okay. About half an hour ago, we were doing our sign-offs.
We're good at that.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, but now we only have 30 seconds to do it.
Well, yeah, Jenny, you got anything you want to plug coming up?
I think I might be doing a granny show again on Tuesday at 7.
Oh, okay.
I,
Do you know what the topic's going to be?
No, but I could be confusing that with what we did this week with her. But I think there was a second one that I'd scheduled for. So that's a possibility on Tuesday at 7 Central Time. But other than that, it's the usual Purple schedule of Wednesday at noon and Thursday at 10 Central Time. Both counts.
Yep. And we don't know what the topic on those is going to be because I haven't looked them up yet. Although, as we said earlier, I should probably stick to vegetables.
I can't wait till we do on National Kazoo Day.
Well, I was looking up. It's going to be a few months from now, but both the premiere of Star Wars and the premiere of Ghostbusters falls on Thursdays.
Oh, those are not things that I normally catch, but if you want to remind me when they're coming up, we could do shows for those.
Yeah, sure, I'll remind you.
I don't know how other people feel about it, and their opinions of the audience and stuff is much more important than mine. But I really miss us starting at midnight. I just miss it. But
I had moved it up because too often I was having appointments on Friday morning, and it was being too difficult for me to be getting up on Friday morning for my doctor appointments.
Yeah, and that's why I say it's just me, and everybody else is much more important with their little scheduling and stuff.
Although I have actually been thinking that I might be changing the schedule again, but at this point I am waiting until next month when Soft Girl is probably going to be restarting chemo and finding out what her schedule is on that before I try to change my schedule regarding anything else.
Folks on the chat, one other thing I'm getting into is Stephanie Helms. If you've met her, she's one of the trans women in the community who's like my age and didn't transition as in ancient days like I did, but was kind of like in between ancient days and now. But she's real knowledgeable, real perspective, and we've been talking about putting together an all trans all the time show. Though I would like to see us put out on Sunday afternoon, something like that, because there's just a complete void of any shows that people of our community doing. And I just thought it'd be a good time to not conflict with anybody and bring something in on a day that nothing else is happening.
Yeah, as you'd mentioned in the Twitter group, there really isn't much in our community that happens on the weekends.
Yeah, the only thing we have is Lavendale Ladies, Diana's show around noon, and that usually lasts till around 3-4.
Although certainly would be nice to get.
One thing that I've thought about, we haven't had a giant conversation about this yet, so this is just bullshit out of my own head. One of the things I would like us to do is to be able to take the chat and 1 week have them provide us with ideas that they want, or specific questions that they want explored, and then we can take like one question and explore it as deep as we can for an hour and a half. And that's the singular topic.
Interesting idea.
And since the idea of the show is not to necessarily educate trans people, it's to educate average folks, cis people, average folks. The questions that you would have are most salient, are the most important to us.
Yeah.
So if you want to try to see what our show's about, start thinking up some ideas that we may ask you for and work on. I want to have a show that I actually have to do homework from, homework for, and maybe even have written scripts and stuff for certain concepts so that I get it right. A serious, sophisticated show. If you can imagine that out of me.
Oh no, I know you can certainly do it if you have the topic, like you say, far enough ahead, couple of weeks ahead, so you can do some research on it.
Maybe get into some of the.
And I promise I will not pick my nose on camera. I will not. I promise.
Maybe try and get into some of the biology of being transgender.
Mm-hmm.
That might be an interesting topic.
So you're talking like what causes it?
Yeah.
Of question.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is interesting, but there's nobody knows.
Well,
we can talk about theories.
well,
Yeah.
I could say kind of related to that, you could do more of the biology of being intersexed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people still do not understand that very well, especially the legislators who are ungodly ignorant and just plain stupid.
Yeah, people who are
people-
born with physical characteristics of
Yeah.
both genders.
Everything they're legislating is purely hate based and completely based with inaccurate lies and information. It's just they're fools. They're just absolute fools.
Well, even covering there seems to be indication that there is some biological basis would be useful.
There is, and you know, I'm going to end up getting into this, but I'll try to make it brief here. The further they go in studying, the more they're beginning to realize that even though we say gender is a construct,
Social construction, yeah.
social construct, it honest to God seems to have a biological basis as for how it got going and what it essentially is. You know, again, they haven't proven it, but it's beginning to look like that is going to be something that they'll be able to study and understand more.
Yeah.
That during that time when the brain is washed with hormones and does its changing and stuff, that for trans people it does not change the way it's supposed to, and so that they end up as trans people, and there's no curing it. It's the way you're wired.
Yeah. Well, it's, the biological part would be, what causes your brain to produce the particular hormones, because men and women both have some testosterone, both have some estrogen. It's just the levels and the balance between them that makes the difference of whether the body develops to be male or female.
Yeah. Well, hormones, estrogen, testosterone, are chemically almost identical. There's estrogen comes out of testosterone. They couple molecule change and that's it. And other than that, they're the same. And they both rely on fat. Did you know that hormones are made out of fat?
No, I didn't understand the chemistry of them at all.
Yeah, I guess this might be inaccurate, but I think I heard that virtually all hormones are made out of adipose tissues and adipose chemical molecules and things like that.
Well, see, I got you going on this, and it's not even a deep dive.
Yeah, I know a lot of bits and pieces. I'm like one of those armchair quarterbacks that I know this and that, but I'm no pro. But I'm smart enough to be able to put things together after I read a number of sources. And again, it doesn't make me an expert, but it makes me somebody who can share information and maybe explain it in a logical way that others hadn't thought of or didn't bother to, because it's just not their life and it is mine. So what the fuck, I'll shut up now.
No, that's fine. Although, as far as prompting the audience here, May 1st will be the 5-year anniversary of the channel.
Oh my God.
And I think an appropriate way to observe that would be to do an Ask Me Anything. So, if people want to DM me things on Twitter, questions you'd like to ask the panel, we will cover all those on May 1st.
Wow. 5 years.
Yeah, I've been doing this almost 5 years now.
Just
No.
just be sure to clear your browser history before you do that.
That means we've been doing it 5 years.
Yeah, you really have been here the whole time, haven't you?
Mm-hmm. You're gonna have to start paying me pretty soon here.
Yeah, I have all along. I have been giving you 30% of the ad revenues from the beginning.
Yeah, I know, but I want 40. Okay.
Okay,
All
you
right.
can have 40.
Great. Thank you.
40% is 0, still the same thing.
Uh-huh.
Well, see, actually, I can't give you more than 33% because I've got to give Mage a fair share. Well, no, I can give you 40% because you've got seniority. So I give you 40%. Mage, you're going to have to sell for 25%.
All right.
Hey, and Mark and George, if you got any cool things that you've made, take some JPEGs and get them to us, and we can show them up and share them with everybody else.
Oh yeah, I'm game for that. If any of our audience members want to show off some of their artwork or whatever.
If you want to write a paragraph of what it is, and and that sort of thing, and pat yourself on the back, that would be great too.
Yeah,
Or you can type it out like crazy in the chat while we're looking at them and stuff. Or for that matter, we could just get you on and you can just say it yourself online.
yeah, on sure. If you want to plug some of your some of your coloring books or that too, if you want to send me 1 or 2 drawings that you would be okay with us sharing. I of course don't want to be sharing any of your artwork without you giving me permission.
That would be neat. We could also spotlight more of Sloth Girl stuff. She really seems to have a hell of a talent with it.
Okay, Aunt Jen says we have to sacrifice a 5-year-old 5 times every hour for 5 hours.
5-year-olds for 5 times every hour for 5 hours. Well, that's okay. Can we make sure they're like Republican children or?
Okay. Again, this channel doesn't have a really big budget, so we're going to need people from the audience to donate 5-year-olds for this.
Yeah, they're expensive.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we can put the bill on this.
Would freeze dried be okay? Or I guess not, because they wouldn't sacrifice that. It's just never mind. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
That'd be great, Sheriff, if Perp can play them.
Well, yeah, I can play them through the share screen thing, so. Yeah, well, send me links to them, and next week we could put a couple of those up.
All right. Well.
Okay.
I want to go and read some dirty stories and fire up the vibrator.
Okay, so signing off here, 3rd time's the charm.
Chat, we love you very much. Boar bushings. Well, yeah, I understand, but they I get excited over that kind of stuff. It's George. It's like when people say, "Oh, NASCAR, man." It may look simple to people who are standing on the outside looking in, but when you look at the details and the talent it takes to drive a car at 200 miles an hour, 4 inches from your neighbor, and the skills it takes to bore out and to create a sleeve that is precise down to 10,000th of an inch. People can't even perceive a 10,000th of an inch, much less do it. So that takes lots of talent.
Honestly, with auto racing, I am not nearly as impressed by the drivers as I am by the pit crew.
Yeah, they're amazing.
How they can get out there and they can, change all the tires and fuel them up and check and do everything, and get them back out there in like less than a minute.
Oh no, a lot of them are under 20 seconds. They can
For
change
you-
all 4 tires and
Yeah.
and wipe the windshield in 20 seconds or less. It is incredible.
This might turn into another topic.
Yep. Okay. So instead, I will just thank all my Patreon supporters here. Skits Crasher, Southern Cell, Kitty the Atheist, Robert X, the Lavender Lady, Greg Hartwick, and Vonrek. Appreciate you all, keeping things going here and, helping me pay the internet bill so I can keep doing this for another year. So with that, we will bid you all a good night.
Later.
Adieu. Love you.